Dennis Smith Jr. can't shoot. His career average from three-point range sits at just 29.8%.
I found out after a nap that I was traded.
A glaring weakness in today's NBA, where teams are taking more threes than ever before. That's a big reason he's bounced from roster to roster. But here's the twist. That flaw might be exactly why the Philadelphia 76ers want him.
Regardless of how it goes, I got to take responsibility for everything.
While most teams chase shooters to keep up with the league's record pace of long-range attempts, the Sixers see value elsewhere. They watched how the Brooklyn Nets leaned on Smith's defensive energy. His on-ball pressure and timely steals changed games, even when he wasn't scoring. And last season, he quietly posted a career-best 43.5% field goal rate by focusing on attacking the rim and playmaking.
By doing the same thing that I did last year, continuing to work hard, believing in God and controlling what I can control.
So why did a lottery pick with all the tools end up fighting for a roster spot? To answer that, you have to look back at where it all started. Dennis Smith Jr. was the 9th pick in the 2017 NBA draft, and the expectations were sky high. He entered the league as a point guard with elite athleticism. His 48-inch vertical leap was the stuff of legend. In his rookie year with the Dallas Mavericks, Smith averaged 15.2 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 5.2 assists per game, earning a spot on the all-rookie second team. He was explosive, fearless, and looked every bit the franchise cornerstone Dallas hoped for. But even as Smith was making highlight reels with his dunks and quickness, one issue stood out: his outside shooting. In a league that had shifted its focus to the three-point line, Smith's 29.8% career average from deep was a glaring weakness. Teams across the NBA were building their offenses around spacing and long-range shooting, and Smith's inability to stretch the floor became an immediate concern. Defenders would sag off him, daring him to shoot, and it disrupted his rhythm and the team's spacing. After 2 seasons in Dallas, Smith was traded to the New York Knicks as the main asset in the Kristaps Porzingis deal. The move was supposed to give him a fresh start. Early flashes in New York showed he still had the burst and playmaking, but the same problems resurfaced. The Knicks, like the Mavericks, couldn't find a way to unlock his potential without a reliable jumper. The offense would bog down, and Smith found himself drifting to the background. The pattern continued in Detroit. With the Pistons, his minutes dropped and his role shrank. He averaged just 7.3 points per game, a far cry from his rookie numbers. After Detroit, he bounced between several teams: Portland, Charlotte, and Brooklyn, rarely finding the stability or trust to play his natural game. Each new stop brought a smaller role and less certainty. Coaches and front offices kept trying to mold him into a shooter, often planting him in the corner as a spot-up threat. But Smith was never built for that. His strengths attacking in transition, driving to the rim, and creating for others were sidelined in favor of a skill he struggled to master. This constant movement took a toll. Smith went from being a player teams built around to someone fighting for minutes, his confidence eroding with each change of scenery. He bounced between 6 teams over 7 seasons, never able to settle into a role that played to his strengths. The league's obsession with shooting left little room for a guard who thrived on speed and defensive pressure but couldn't consistently hit threes. Instead of a rising star on a near-max rookie contract, Smith found himself signing veteran minimum deals, just trying to stay in the league. For many players, this kind of instability signals the end of a promising career. When the NBA's door starts to close, options run out fast. But for Dennis Smith Jr., the next chapter would take him somewhere almost no one expected. For Dennis Smith Jr., the next stop was Madrid. In February 2025, he signed a short-term contract with Real Madrid, one of Europe's basketball powerhouses. This move, for many former NBA lottery picks, is usually seen as the closing chapter, a quiet exit from the league's spotlight. Smith's arrival in Spain wasn't about chasing a EuroLeague title or reinventing himself as a European star. It was about survival, about keeping his career alive when NBA opportunities had dried up. The numbers from his time in Spain tell a stark story. In 2 Liga Endesa games, Smith averaged just 1.5 points on 50% shooting, adding 1.5 rebounds in about 8 minutes per game. In EuroLeague play, over 4 games, he managed only 2.8 points and 1.5 assists. For a player who once electrified crowds with his athleticism, these stats looked like a flat line. The European style, more structured, slower paced, and heavily reliant on shooting, didn't suit his game. On paper, it looked like his career was fading out quietly, far from the NBA limelight. But what happened off the court in Madrid mattered more than anything on it. The experience forced Smith to reflect and reassess. Away from the NBA's relentless pressure, he realized he couldn't just wait for another opportunity. He had to change how he approached the game entirely. The time in Spain wasn't about failure, it was about clarity. Smith saw that if he wanted another shot in the NBA, he couldn't return as the same player who left. He needed to double down on what he did best: defense, energy, and playmaking. So after just 4 games, Smith left Real Madrid. It wasn't a defeat, it was a decision. He set his sights back on the NBA, determined to carve out a new identity. When the Brooklyn Nets called, he didn't try to become the shooter every team had wanted him to be. Instead, he focused on his strengths. In the 2023-24 season, he played 56 games for the Nets, averaging 1.2 steals per game and shooting a career-best 43.5% from the field. He became a defensive specialist, a relentless on-ball pest who could change the momentum of a game with a single stop or a perfectly timed steal. There was a night against the Celtics where Smith's defense sparked a crucial fourth-quarter run, turning a tight contest into a Nets win. That's the version of Dennis Smith Jr. that teams started to notice, a player who didn't need to score to make a difference. His time in Spain, brief as it was, became the wake-up call that redirected his entire career. Instead of chasing a role he couldn't fill, Smith leaned into the skills that made him unique. Now, as he looks to the future, his value isn't tied to shooting percentages or box score stats. It's about the impact he can make on defense, the energy he brings, and the way he can shift a game's momentum without ever needing to be the focal point. This new approach sets the stage for what comes next, a team willing to bet on a different formula for success. Philadelphia's front office is taking a different approach. While most teams double down on shooting and floor spacing, the 76ers are targeting a specialist. Their president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, has a history of spotting undervalued defensive talent. Remember his move for Isaiah Hartenstein in 2024-25, and he's applying that same philosophy here. The Sixers, with about $7 million in cap space, prioritize defensive exceptions over adding another shooter. They're looking for a player who fills a specific gap, not just another name on the roster. On paper, Dennis Smith Jr. doesn't fit the standard mold. A guard with a career three-point percentage of 29.8% generally raises red flags for spacing, especially on a team built around Joel Embiid's post dominance and Tyrese Maxey's drives. The risk is that defenders will ignore Smith on the perimeter, pack the paint, and make the offense predictable. This is why most contenders would pass, but the Sixers see a different kind of value. Instead of focusing on Smith's limitations, they're zeroing in on his strengths: defensive pressure and playmaking. The team doesn't need more scoring off the bench. They need a backup point guard who can flip the tempo, disrupt opposing guards, and create transition opportunities. During his time with the Nets, Smith showed exactly that. He led the team to a positive net rating when matched up against top guards, and his defensive impact was obvious on the floor. Nets teammate Cameron Johnson described Smith's energy as infectious. He picks up full court and makes you want to match his intensity. That kind of presence changes the dynamic of a second unit. Smith's improvement in Brooklyn wasn't about becoming a better shooter. It was about smarter shot selection and relentless defense. He shot a career-high 43.5% from the field by attacking the rim and avoiding the shots that hurt his efficiency. The Sixers aren't signing him to hit threes. They're signing him to pressure the ball, force turnovers, and ignite fast breaks. For a team with established scorers, that's the missing piece. This move isn't about chasing trends or fitting into a league-wide template. It's about building a roster with the right mix of skills for immediate playoff success. The Sixers believe that a defensive specialist at backup point guard can swing momentum in key stretches, buy rest for Maxey, and keep the team's energy high when Embiid sits. It's a low-cost, high-impact bet, one that only works if you're willing to see value where others don't. For Dennis Smith Jr., this is more than just another contract. It's a chance to prove that what he brings can be the difference for a contender, even if it doesn't show up in the usual box score categories. The Sixers' strategy challenges the idea that value in the NBA is fixed or universal. As Smith steps into this new role, his story becomes a test of whether a player's greatest strengths can truly outweigh their most glaring weaknesses. Dennis Smith Jr.'s resurgence with the Nets showed how a player's impact can go far beyond the box score. His defensive presence and energy changed games, even when his shooting didn't.
For the 76ers, this isn't just a gamble. It's a calculated move to build a roster that values specific strengths over traditional expectations. As Dennis Smith Jr. joins Philadelphia, the conversation shifts. The question isn't whether he'll become a great shooter, but this: will the Sixers' defensive bet force teams to rethink the three-point premium? Let us know in the comments. Do you think defense can outweigh shooting in today's NBA?